7.4 is quadratic function graphs. So we'll first talk about the form of the equation. The equation can be written in this form of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c are just constants, numbers, and a is not equal to 0. You have a graph like this. Okay. And so these are used a lot for minimization and maximization types of problems. When your parabola is opening up, then the vertex is going to be the lowest point on the parabola. And this axis of symmetry acts as a way if you had a point over here, then you would have a buddy point over here. If you fold the graph on that axis of symmetry, the sides lie perfectly on each other. Same with this one. You have that axis of symmetry, but here the vertex is going to be the highest point on the parabola if it's opening down. So that's where those are used, or the maximization and minimization types of problems. So we're going to find the vertex and y-intercepts of these quadratic functions. The vertex formula is to take the opposite of the b coefficient, divide it by 2 times the a coefficient. That'll be the x part of your vertex point. And once you find that, you put it back into the equation for the x and find out what the y is. I'll show you how to do that. Y-intercept is simply going to be 0, c, and your x-intercepts are found by making the y equal 0. So let's try graphing one of these. Here we want to find the vertex and plot at least 4 additional points and then sketch the graph. Probably sketch the graph as we go. The vertex, first we want to start out by finding negative b over 2a. This will be the opposite of 4 over 2 times a. A is 1. And so that's a negative 2. So my vertex has an x of negative 2. And then we're going to put that x value of negative 2 back into the equation for x to find the y. So negative 2 squared, make sure you put parentheses around the entire negative 2, plus 4 times negative 2 plus 5. That's going to be 4 minus 8 plus 5, which is a positive 1. So my vertex is negative 2, 1. Okay, and we can go ahead and find more points. My advice is to put that vertex in your t-table and then pick x values that are close to the x of your vertex. The further you get away from this x value of your vertex, the bigger the y is going to be, and you're not going to be able to plot them on a small grid. So go ahead and pick things like negative 3, negative 4, negative 1, and 0, and just plug those in. Try putting in the negative 1. So we have a negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 plus 5. That makes that a 1 minus 4 plus 5. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So I have negative 1, 2. And try a 0. 0 squared plus 4 times 0 plus 5. These two terms are going to be 0, so you're left with just a 5. 0, 5. Okay. Putting in a negative 3. Negative 3 quantity squared plus 4 times negative 3 plus 5. That's 9 minus 12 plus 5. That would be a negative 3 plus 5 is 2. have the point -3, 2. And try a -4. -4, quantity squared plus 4 times -4 plus 5. So I've got 16 minus 16 plus 5, which is going to give me 5. So -4, 5. You'll notice symmetry around that vertex point. Okay, you notice symmetry in your graph. If you can envision this axis of symmetry that will always go through the vertex, if you plot this point, you know that there's going to be a buddy point over here. If you plot this point, you know there's going to be a buddy point over here. So once you find 3 points, the vertex and 2 other points, either these or these, then you can just graph the buddy points and you don't have to really worry about putting in the equation and simplifying everything. And there's your graph. Let's try another. And this one, we want to try the vertex. The vertex is going to be -b over 2a for the x part. That means a negative of -12 or +12 over 2 times a, which is -2. So 12 divided by -4 is -3. So the vertex has an x of -3. Let's plug that in and find out what the y is. So y is going to be -2 times -3 squared minus 12 times -3 minus 5. So that's 9 times -2 is -18 plus 36 minus 5. So it's going to be 18 minus 5 is 13. So your vertex is -3, 13. So we're going to go here. We do have to go off the grid a little bit. 1, 2, 3. And then we can pick some more points, put in a t-table. Okay, we have -3, 13. Let's try -2 and -1. If I put in a -2, that's -2 times -2 squared minus 12 times -2 minus 5. So that's 4 times -2 is -8 plus 24 minus 5. So this is -13 plus our 24 is 11. So -2, 11. And buddy point over here, we're going to have the -4, 11. Let's try putting in a -1. -2 times -1 squared minus 12 times -1 minus 5. That is 1 times -2, -2, plus 12 minus 5. That's a -7 plus 12 is 5. So we have a -1, 5. And we know buddy point. We have a buddy point that is 2 units away from the axis of symmetry on the other side. That means we have that point -5, 5. And just join your points, make it nice and smooth, curved, like a parabola as best as you can. Okay, you might be asked to also plot the x-intercepts of the graph, so let's go ahead and get that taken care of. And y-intercepts are pretty standard. So if you want an x-intercept, Then you make your y 0. Okay, so this is going to be an x-intercept, make your y 0, and a y-intercept. A y-intercept, you're going to make your x 0. So we do these, of course, one at a time. For the first one, let's make the x 0. Y is 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 35. Of course, these terms go away. So you get a negative 35. So your y-intercept is 0, negative 35. And on your x-intercept, you're making the y 0. So we're going to go 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 35. And we have to solve this equation. You're welcome to use factoring if you remember factoring, and if it does factor. And the rest of us will use quadratic formula. So that's what I'll show here. We're solving this quadratic equation. So x is going to be the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. And that's all over 2 times a, 2 times 1. Okay, so this is 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 140. It's all over 2. So that is a 2 plus or minus the square root of 144 over 2. So 2 plus or minus the square root of 144 is 12. And it's all over 2. So we'll get two answers. 2 plus 12 is 14 divided by 2 is 7. Or 2 minus 12 is negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Okay, so you have two x-intercepts of 7, 0, and negative 5, 0. So just like when you were graphing above, you can graph those points if they would ask you for them. Same thing with this one. The y-intercept. Y-intercept is where we make the x is 0. So we get a y-intercept of 0, 0. Okay. And for x-intercepts, okay, we've got this y-intercept 0, 0. For x-intercepts, we make the y 0 and solve. So we have 0 equals negative 2x squared plus 4x. Again, if you remember factoring and you want to do that, go ahead. It's really the quickest way. The rest of us, we're going to fall back onto quadratic formula. So x is going to be negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. There is no c here, and that's because it's a plus 0. And that's all over 2 times a. So that's going to be negative 4. So we get negative 4 plus or minus square root of 16 over negative 4. That's negative 4 plus or minus 4 over negative 4. So I get negative 4 plus 4 is 0, divided by negative 4 is 0, or negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8, divided by negative 4 is positive 2. So I have, again, two x-intercepts, and one is 0, 0, and the other one is going to be 2, 0. Okay? So x-intercepts 0, 0, and 2, 0.